minutes, you are going to see it.
Oh, yeah. It's unavoidable.
Totally. The cars, the watches, all the hustle culture gurus promising that if you just grind a little harder, wake up at 4 a.m. and drink the right green juice, you can buy your freedom.
Your get rich fast mentality.
It's a universal obsession. And honestly, it's intoxicating. This idea that the solution to all your stress, all your anxiety is just a wire transfer away. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a collection of works that, well, it takes a sledgehammer to that entire worldview. We're looking at what happens when you get everything you thought you wanted and you realize you've lost your peace in the process.
It's a stark paradox. And it's one humanity has wrestled with for centuries, but it feels particularly acute right now.
In the age of the internet, yeah.
Exactly. So today we're exploring a trilogy of works by Marrero Jr. We have a sermon titled Rich in Faith, Strong Through the Struggle, a really visceral spoken word piece called Easy Money, Heavy Souls, and a personal testimony that kind of ties it all together.
And what I loved about this stack of sources is that Marrero isn't just saying money is bad. I think that would be too simple.
Way too simple and easy to just tune out.
Right. He's arguing something much more nuanced and honestly kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
He's arguing that material wealth, when it's separated from a spiritual foundation, is a dangerous lie.
Exactly. It's not just neutral, it's active. So the mission for this deep dive is really to unpack that specific argument. We need to look at his concept of heavy souls, which I think is just a brilliant descriptor for a very modern condition.
It really is.
And then we're going to pivot to his alternative, which he calls eternal direction. It's an analysis of resilience, really. It asks you a fundamental question. Are you building your life on a foundation that can actually hold the weight of your existence?
Heavy souls. Let's start right there, because that imagery from the spoken word piece, it grabbed me immediately. It's so poetic, but also incredibly heavy, pun intended. Okay. So let's unpack this. Marrero writes, they told me, get rich fast, live big. But they never told me that easy money comes with heavy souls. When you hear that, what's the mechanism he's describing? Why does the money make the soul heavy?
I think it's a profound observation on the burden of maintenance and the burden of pretense.
Okay.
If you look at the spoken word piece, Marrero is deconstructing the illusion of success. He uses this very specific visual language. He talks about houses with no peace and cars with no joy. Yeah. We tend to make this this cognitive error where we conflate the object with the emotion we think it'll bring. We think a house equals safety. We think a car equals joy.
Right.
Marrero is severing that connection. He's pointing out that you can possess the physical container, the mansion, the bank account. It can be completely void of the spiritual content required to actually enjoy it.
That distinction container versus content, that is so key. You can have the cup, but if the cup is empty, you're still thirsty.
That's a great way to put it.
He has this line that really stuck with me. Winning in public, dying in private, that hits hard. It's the ultimate Instagram versus reality problem, isn't it? The curated life versus the internal reality.
It is, but Marrero takes it a step further than just social commentary. He identifies the cause of that dying in private.
Okay, so what is it?
In the sermon, he calls money a terrible god, and I think that phrasing is very deliberate.
A terrible god.
Yeah, and we need to define God here, not just religiously, but functionally. A god is something you worship, something you look to for salvation, for security, for identity. He says money promises joy but delivers bondage.
So if you make wealth your god, it demands service.
It demands service. It demands you keep up appearances. It demands you constantly worry about losing it.
Right, because if money is your security, you're always insecure. I mean, money is fluid. It moves. It can disappear.
Precisely. And that creates the heavy soul. It's the crushing weight of being your own provider, your own sustainer, your own universe. He actually mentions seeing people at the top of the world who still want to end their lives.
Wow.
And that's the data point that proves his hypothesis. If the get rich fast promise was true, those people should be the happiest on earth. But often they're the most hollow.
So we have this setup. Easy money equals heavy souls. It's a trap. But then Marrero pivots. If the goal isn't just to be comfortable and rich, what is life about? And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because he totally reframes the concept of hardship.
Yes. This is the second pillar of his argument, the classroom. In the sermon, he says explicitly, struggle is not punishment, it is preparation.
That is such a hard shift to make mentally. I mean, when I'm struggling, I don't feel like I'm in school. I feel like I'm being punished.
Of course.
Like the universe is out to get me.
That's the natural human instinct to repel pain. We want comfort. But Marrero challenges that instinct. And I have to quote this line from the sermon because it's got such a rhythm to it. He says, our generation wants riches without righteousness, success without sacrifice, and crowns without crosses.
Crowns without crosses. That is a powerful piece of rhetoric.
Isn't it?
It really encapsulates the modern desire for the result without the process. We want the graduation photo, but we don't want to do the coursework.
Exactly. But Marrero's arguing that the coursework, the struggle itself, is where the actual value is generated. It's not just a hurdle to jump over to get to the good stuff. The struggle is the mechanism of growth.
Okay, so let's look at the curriculum of this classroom. If struggle is a university, what are we studying?
According to the sources, there are 3 main subjects. First, hard work builds character. Second, waiting seasons teach dependence. And third, from the spoken word piece, struggle teaches prayer.
Let's break those down. Waiting seasons. That part is tough. Nobody likes the waiting season.
No.
We want the Amazon Prime delivery speed of life. Same day shipping on my dreams, please. But he's saying that the delay is actually doing something functional.
Right. I mean, think about it. If you get everything instantly, you never learn dependence. You never learn to trust in anything bigger than your own ability to click buy.
That's a good point.
Marrero argues that those periods where you can't fix it yourself, where you have to wait, where the tracking number says delayed, those are the only times you actually learn to lean on God. In the testimony, he says, struggle taught me how to pray.
You don't learn desperate, authentic, gut-level prayer when everything is going perfectly.
Never. You learn it in the trenches.
It's like the difference between a polite conversation and a lifeline call. The struggle forces a depth of communication with the divine that comfort never will.
And this connects to the scripture he references, right? John 16:33. In the world, you will have tribulation.
I always found that verse kind of bracing. I'm not a maybe, it's a guarantee.
Yes. And the interpretation here is vital. He notes that Jesus never promised an easy road. The promise wasn't the removal of obstacles.
No.
The promise was a guided road. Marrero says, Jesus didn't remove every hardship, but he gave me strength, peace, and direction. And that distinction is the difference between a childish faith.
Like hoping God is a genie who grants wishes.
Exactly. And a mature faith, which understands that the presence of God is what sustains you through the difficulty.
That leads perfectly into the concept of speed. We talked about get rich fast, which implies velocity is the main goal. But Marrero has this alternative that I found really resonating with me. In the spoken word piece, he says, I'd rather walk slow with Jesus than run fast without him.
It's a beautiful antithesis to the culture of speed, running fast without him. It implies anxiety.
Yeah, it does.
It implies that you're moving at a breakneck pace, you're hustling, you're grinding, but you are alone. And worse, you might be running fast in the wrong direction.
It feels like that anxiety of constantly trying to catch up, doesn't it? Like if I'm not running, I'm falling behind. But Marrero is saying, I'm okay with slowing down if it means I'm in the right company.
Exactly. It shifts the metric from speed to direction. And this is where he introduces eternal direction. In the spoken word, he says, riches fade, fame dies, but Christ remains. It's a logic of durability.
Durability, I like that.
If you're running fast toward a cliff, which he argues a life without God is, it doesn't matter how fast you get there.
Right.
Walking slow on the right path is infinitely better.
So what does this walking slow look like in practice? Because I want to ground this for the listener. We still have to work, right? We still have bills. Marrero isn't saying, quit your job and go live in a cave.
No, not at all. And that's a crucial clarification. In the testimony, he explains the transformation. He says, when I focused on Jesus Christ, work became honorable. Struggle became meaningful.
That's the key.
This is crucial. He didn't stop working. He didn't stop dealing with money. But the relationship to the work changed.
So instead of work being a frantic grab for status, it becomes, what, an act of worship?
In a sense, yes. It becomes honorable. It's no longer about how much can I extract from this job to fill the hole in my soul. It becomes, who am I becoming and who am I serving? And when he says struggle became meaningful, he means he stopped viewing obstacles as just annoying roadblocks to his happiness. He started seeing them as part of that classroom we discussed. It recontextualizes the suffering.
It does.
If I know this struggle is building something in me that will last forever, my character, my faith, then I can endure it differently than if I think it's just bad luck.
That reminds me of the line in the testimony where he talks about surviving the world. I think that's a phrase a lot of people feel right now. We're just trying to survive. But his definition of survival is different.
It is radically different. He says surviving this world isn't about having the most, it's about trusting God the most.
That's a redefinition of survival right there.
Yeah, completely. Usually we think survival means hoarding resources, building a bunker, having the biggest savings account so nothing can hurt us.
Right.
Marrero argues that true survival of the soul, not just the body, is about the capacity to trust, because resources can disappear overnight. He says that explicitly. Riches can disappear overnight. A market crash, a diagnosis, a lawsuit, money is fluid.
But trust, a relationship with the divine,
that is portable. You take that with you through any market crash, any tragedy.
It's resilience that money can't buy. You can't write a check for peace. You can't Venmo someone for character.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the heavy souls concept. The soul is heavy when it's carrying the burden of being its own God.
Right.
When you think you have to control everything, you have to earn everything, you have to secure your future. I mean, that is a crushing weight. No human was designed to carry the weight of the world. Marrero's alternative, Jesus is my wealth, is an unloading of that burden. It's saying, I am not the master of the universe. I am following the one who is. And that lightness allows you to walk slow.
I love that. It's moving from pressure to peace. One thing that stood out in the testimony was the phrase unashamed. He says, I keep moving forward, faithful, focused, and unashamed. Why that word? Unashamed.
I think it connects back to the beginning, the winning in public, dying in private. When you're living that lie, there is a deep, hidden shame.
The shame of imposter syndrome.
Exactly. The shame of knowing you aren't who you pretend to be. The shame of feeling empty when you should feel full. So when he says he moves forward unashamed, he's saying he has nothing to hide anymore.
His inside matches his outside.
Yes. He doesn't have the heavy soul of secrets. He has transparency of someone who knows they are on the guided road.
It really is a complete ecosystem of thought he's presenting here. It starts with the diagnosis, the heavy soul, and moves to the cure, the classroom of struggle, and the walk with Jesus. It frames life so differently than the commercials do.
And it challenges you, the listener, to look at your own life not through the lens of your bank account, but through the lens of your spiritual direction. It forces you to ask, am I rich in the things that can be taken away, or am I rich in the things that remain?
It's interesting because in our culture, we usually only value the things we can count. We value the metrics. But Marrero is talking about the intangibles that actually dictate the quality of your life.
Right. You can count money. You cannot count peace. You cannot count character. But when the storm hits, and the storm always hits, the money doesn't keep you warm at night in the way that peace does.
No.
The money doesn't hold you together when your world falls apart. Only that eternal direction, that connection to something permanent can do that.
So if we step back and look at these three sources together, the sermon, the poetry, the testimony, what's the big takeaway here? If someone is listening to this on their commute, maybe feeling that heaviness, what's the message?
I think the big takeaway is that we have to stop trying to bypass the process. We live in a world of shortcuts. We want the hack, the cheat code, the easy money. Marrero is telling us that the shortcut is actually a dead end.
It leads to the heavy soul.
It leads to the heavy soul. The long way, the way of character, of struggle, of walking slow with God is actually the only way that leads to a destination worth going to.
It's the difference between a destination that looks good on a postcard and a home where you can actually rest.
That is a beautiful way to put it. Eternal direction isn't just about the afterlife. It's about having a true north right now. It gives you a filter for decision making.
How so?
Well, when you're faced with a choice, do I take the job that pays more but compromises my values? Do I cut this corner? Do I skip this difficult conversation? You apply the filter. Does this lead to a heavy soul, or does it keep me on the guided road?
And realizing that the struggle isn't a sign that you're failing. I think that's huge for people. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. In Marrero's view, if it's hard, you might be right in the middle of the most important lesson of your life.
Exactly. Struggle is not punishment. If you can internalize that, it changes your entire emotional landscape. You stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and start feeling like a student in a classroom.
I think that's a perfect place to land. We've gone from the empty promise of the get-rich-fast culture to the grounded reality of a faith that survives the fire. It's a call to check your backpack. Are you carrying gold bars that are weighing you down, or are you carrying a compass that shows you where to go?
And as you reflect on this, I want to leave you with a question that really stems from this idea of the classroom of struggle. If Marrero is right, and hardship is actually a curriculum designed to build things like character and dependence, what lesson are you currently trying to skip? What struggle are you trying to buy your way out of that might actually be the very thing designed to help you grow?
Oof. That is a question to sit with. What lesson are you trying to skip? It's going to stick with me. Thank you for walking us through this, and thank you for listening to this deep dive into the works of Mario Marrero Jr. We hope it gave you something to think about as you walk slowly, hopefully through your week.
Slow.
We'll see you next time. Okay, I want to start today by checking in on a very specific, very modern habit.
Okay.
It's late, maybe 11:30 p.m. The house is quiet, you're exhausted from the day, you're lying in bed, the blue light washing over your face, and your thumb is just scrolling.
The scroll, yeah, I know it well.
But you're not just looking at news or cat videos, you're looking at other people's lives. And what is it that you're seeing?
It's the highlight reel, isn't it? It's curated perfection.
Exactly. It's the 22-year-old next to a McLaren he says he bought with crypto. It's the entrepreneur yelling about making 6 figures while napping.
Passive income.
It's this endless parade of luxury, massive houses, perfect bodies. And even if you're a rational person, there's this little voice that whispers, if you aren't doing this, you're failing. It's so seductive.
Incredibly seductive. It targets something really primal. This need for security, for significance. We see that and we think, if I had that, I'd be safe. I'd matter. It feels like a shortcut.
Right. And today, we're going to look at a text that basically takes a sledgehammer to that entire worldview. We are deep diving into a piece by Mario Marrero Jr. called Rich in Faith, Strong Through Struggle. And I want to be clear right up front. This is not a deep dive about your stock portfolio. We aren't talking S&P 500. This is philosophical. It's a theological reality check.
It really is. Marrero's whole point is that the social media version of the good life isn't just misleading. He argues it's actively dangerous.
Okay.
He's setting up this huge tension between the modern hustle for cash, which our culture screams at us to do, and what he sees as true survival, which is all about spiritual endurance through Jesus Christ.
So if you're listening for a hot stock tip, maybe adjust your expectations. We're looking at the soul of work today. We're asking that really uncomfortable question that hits you after you put the phone down. What happens if you get the money, but you still feel hollow?
That is the central question. And what I really appreciate about Marrero's text is that he starts right there with the illusion itself. He doesn't pretend it's not appealing.
No, he doesn't deny it, does he? He says, it looks beautiful on the outside. He's not saying the cars aren't shiny.
No, and that's so important for his credibility. If he just came out and said, money is evil, we'd just tune him out. He gets that it looks attractive, but then he immediately pivots to the cost.
The cost.
And he uses these 3 really heavy words to describe what's behind the curtain. Pain, emptiness, and broken souls.
Broken souls. Wow. I mean, that's not just unhappy or stressed. It sounds like something is fundamentally snapped.
Precisely. Marrero writes, I have seen many stories people who chased riches without purpose. And that little phrase, without purpose, that's the key to everything. Just pointing out this tragic irony. These people, they get the lifestyle. They have the things that get all the likes and shares on social media. They have all the external signals that say, I made it.
But in getting the lifestyle, they forfeit the life.
That's it, exactly. They lose things. He mentions peace. He mentions direction. But the one that really stopped me was when he said some of them lose the desire to live.
That's staggering. But, I think we see that play out more than we admit.
I think we do. I mean, think about the trajectory. You start hustling because you want a better life, freedom, maybe just not worrying about bills. But Marrero sees that when money becomes your god, when success is your whole identity, you create this paradox. You reach the top of the mountain and feel nothing. Or worse, despair.
He uses this powerful image of a collapsed heart.
The collapsed heart, yes.
It's so vivid. It makes me think of a sinkhole, The surface looks totally fine. Manicured lawn, fresh paint, but underneath, the ground just gave way. There was nothing holding it up.
That is the perfect analogy. If you build your life on a foundation of sand, it might look impressive for a while, but gravity always wins. Marrero is saying that money and success are heavy. They add weight. And if the foundation, your heart, your spirit, isn't built on something much stronger, the whole thing just collapses. It creates a vacuum.
And that's the emptiness he's talking about. So he's diagnosed the disease. The easy money hustle is a trap. But let's be real, nobody wants to be broke either. So what's his alternative?
And that's where the text pivots. Marrero shifts the whole conversation away from what we have to who we trust. He states his belief very plainly that true life is found in faith in Jesus Christ.
Right. And he sets up this direct contrast, the world versus Jesus.
He does. It frames the rest of his argument.
Yeah, I have it noted here. He says the world teaches shortcuts. Jesus teaches endurance. And the world promises comfort. Jesus promises purpose.
Let's drill down on that first one, shortcuts versus endurance. I mean, we are living in the golden age of the shortcut.
Oh, absolutely. The hack for everything, the pill that makes you fit without going to the gym, the AI that writes your email so you don't have to think. We want the passive income so we don't have to actually work.
We see any kind of friction as the enemy. Like struggle is a design flaw in our lives.
Totally. Efficiency is the real God we worship most days. Yeah. Faster and easier is always better.
And in logistics, maybe it is. But Marrero argues that when you apply that thinking, human soul, it's a catastrophe. Shortcuts actually deprive you of the very thing that builds you.
Which leads to his core concept, the one that's probably the hardest to swallow in this whole text.
Which one is that?
Struggle is not a curse. Struggle is a teacher.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
It's a very hard sell today. I mean, we spend all our money trying to eliminate struggle. We buy the dishwasher, the Roomba, the grocery delivery. We are allergic to struggle. So why on earth should we embrace it?
And that is the crucial friction point, isn't it? He's not talking about pointless suffering. She's not saying go break your leg for the experience.
Right.
He's talking about the struggle of honest work, of integrity when it costs you, of being faithful when things look bleak. He says when you just try to automate your way out of all difficulty, you stay fragile.
In what way?
In your character. Think about it. If you never lift a heavy weight, your muscles just atrophy. Marrero says the soul works exactly the same way. When you engage in honest work and struggling with faith, something happens inside your spirit. He lists the benefits. You get stronger. You gain wisdom. You learn humility.
Those are things you definitely can't buy. There's no Amazon Prime for wisdom.
Exactly. And for his theological point, this is the most important part. You learn to depend on God, not your bank balance.
So the struggle is the mechanism. It's what shifts your trust.
Yes. If everything's easy, if the money just flows in, who do you trust? You trust the money. You trust your own cleverness. But when things are hard, when you have to endure, as he puts it, that's when you find out what you're really standing on.
It's like that old saying, you don't know the strength of a tea bag until you put it in hot water.
Precisely. And Marrero is saying the world is full of hot water. He writes, this world is hard. He's not a prosperity gospel guy saying faith will make your bills disappear. He's saying the world demands strength. But that strength doesn't come from your assets. It comes from your faith.
I really like that distinction he made. Building a life versus just building the bank account. He says he teaches you how to build a life, not just a bank account.
It's a beautiful line. And they really are two totally different skill sets, aren't they?
Completely.
Building a bank account it's math. It's accumulation. You can be a terrible person and be great at it. You can be lonely, morally bankrupt.
The numbers don't care. A dollar's a dollar.
Right. But building a life, that's architecture. That involves relationships, resilience, purpose, ethics. And Marrero is saying Jesus teaches the how of those things. He actually lists the specific things Jesus provides that money can't touch.
Yeah, let's go through those.
Yeah.
He says guidance, peace, and hope.
So guidance first. Jesus guides our way when the road is dark. Think about that. Money can buy you consultants, market data, a GPS, but it can't tell you what's morally right. It can't give you a why.
Then there's peace. He gives peace when the world offers stress. That's a big one. I think most people believe that money does buy peace. That's the whole point.
It buys financial options. It can keep the wolves from the door, which is a kind of relief for sure. But internal peace, I mean, look at the people he describes at the beginning. The ones with the luxury cars and broken souls. They have zero financial stress, but also zero peace.
Right.
Marrero says peace is a spiritual condition, not a financial one. You can be at peace in a storm, or you can be anxious in a palace.
That's a distinction we miss a lot. And the last one was hope. He gives hope when success fails to satisfy. That phrase, when success fails to satisfy, it's kind of haunting. It assumes you will get the success and it will let you down.
That's the dead end of materialism. It's the law of diminishing returns. The first million feels amazing. The 10th, maybe not so much. If your hope is always on the next thing, you're on a treadmill. Marrero points out how temporary it all is. He says, riches can disappear overnight.
Which is just literally true. Markets crash, businesses fail, a lawsuit can wipe you out.
But then he contrasts that with faith in Jesus remains forever. He's talking about an asset that's inflation-proof, recession-proof, totally secure because it's outside the market.
And this all leads him to redefine survival. We usually think of surviving as, I paid the rent, I kept the lights on.
Right. But for him, surviving in this world is not about escaping struggle. It's about walking through it with God.
Walking through it, not around it.
Right. It's active. It's not passive. He says when you focus on Jesus, he teaches you how to work, how to endure, how to love, and how to stand firm when everything else shakes.
Stand firm when everything else shakes.
Yeah.
That feels like the core of the whole message. It's about stability.
Stability, yes. And notice the verbs. Work, endure, love, stand. This isn't a passive faith where you just wait for a miracle.
No.
It's about engaging with this hard world, doing the work, but with a completely different engine driving you.
You're not driven by fear or greed. You're driven by faith and purpose.
Exactly.
He gets really, really specific near the end. He gives these 3 warnings, almost like a diagnostic test. I want to read these out because they're so stark.
Please do. They're a great summary.
Okay. Warning 1, money without God leads to emptiness. Warning 2, success without Christ leads to confusion. And warning 3, luxury without purpose leads to destruction.
Heavy equation. Christ leads to confusion.
I think success leads to clarity, like, I won, so I'm doing it right.
It goes back to identity. If you succeed, you get the promotion, the award, whatever, and everyone claps. You go home, look in the mirror, and you think, okay, now what?
Oh.
If there's no higher purpose, no greater mission, you're just left with your own ego. And for a lot of people, that's a really confusing, lonely place. You have the what, but you've completely lost the why.
It's the classic dog catching the car problem.
Exactly. And the third one, luxury without purpose leads to destruction. That's the collapsed heart coming back. It's self-implosion.
And history is just littered with examples of that, isn't it? People with unlimited resources who just completely destroy themselves.
Marrero's saying the root cause wasn't the luxury itself, it was the vacuum of purpose. The luxury just accelerated the rot. It gave them the tools to destroy themselves faster.
But then he flips it. He gives the solution.
But faith in Jesus leads to life. Simple, direct.
He says putting Jesus at the center corrects your path. I like that image, like recalibrating a compass.
And it transforms the struggle itself. He says through him, work becomes honorable, hardship becomes preparation. That's a huge paradigm shift. If you think your hardship is just bad luck, you get bitter. You feel like a victim.
But if you think your hardship is preparation,
then you become a student. You become determined. It reframes the entire narrative of your own life. You're not a victim of the economy anymore. You're in training. You're being forged.
That is a powerful reframing. It gives meaning to the tough parts of the day.
And that's why he can say this path makes life worth living. It's not about the destination, the posture you take on the journey.
So as we wrap this up, Marrero leaves us with a final charge. He's very directive. He says, do not chase easy money. Chase truth. Do not worship luxury. Worship God. And do not give up when life is hard. Trust Jesus and keep going.
It's a call to endurance, a call to reject the shiny, easy lies that social media just feeds us constantly. It's an invitation to step out of the scroll and into reality.
It really makes you rethink what you're even looking at when you're on your phone at night. You see the car, the house, and now I think I'm going to be asking a different question, not how do I get that, but what's the foundation like?
That is the right question, because the external stuff is just paint. Marrero cares about the beams and the concrete. He wants to know if the house is going to stand when the wind blows.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with today. It's a bit of a challenge from Marrero's text. We spend so much time building our assets, our networks, our brand. But just imagine for a second, the unthinkable happens. The markets crash, the bank account goes to zero, all those external markers of your success just vanish.
If all of that was stripped away, would your life still be standing? Or is your identity so wrapped up in what you have that you've forgotten who you are?
That's the check engine light for the soul. Thanks for walking through this with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.